If you're looking for some straight up marketing advice that's super chilled and also a bit of a laugh, then grab yourself a drink and get ready for Marketing and Margaritas, a podcast that makes marketing entertaining. Brought to you by Rebel Nation, direct from regional Queensland.
Welcome to Marketing and Margaritas. This episode, I am joined by James from Cloud3, and we're going to be talking about getting good at socials, even if you really hate socials. So James was with us previously. I cannot remember the episode number, but we'll put a link in the show notes. But for those who didn't happen to catch that episode yet, James, just give us a little bit of a rerun, who you are, what you're about, and why is Cloud3 so amazeballs?
I love that you're talking us up already. Hi, so I'm James. I'm from Cloud3, and we are a web and digital agency. We build websites, we build software, pretty much anything in that kind of, if it's digital, if it's online, it's us. Nice and easy.
Cool. Excellent. So this time we're going to be talking about a topic that I know you absolutely love. Social media marketing. Yay! Everyone loves doing socials. So James and I have been working together for the last few months on a bunch of marketing and business stuff. And one of the challenges that you were facing was social media and basically, getting yourself to do it, doing it well, what to do, all that kind of stuff. Like it really was like you've been doing bits and pieces over the years, but you'd sort of never really had that consistent effort and I suppose feeling like it was even working. So having that momentum to keep going as well. So that was at the start of, when we when we first started working together, and now it sort of seems like you've really turned a corner and things are going well. So I basically just want to pick it the fuck apart so that everyone can cheat off you and just make their own socials amazing as well. So take us back to that starting point. If we look at the beginning of 2023, tell me, what were your socials like for Cloud3 and including your attitude about them as well, how you were feeling about the whole thing?
What were they like? Embarrassing. It's really good to sum it up. It was a thing that existed and it was something that had existed for years. And it's the kind of thing where every so often I'd go, we really should do socials. And I'd do it for a week. And then I'd go, didn't see much interaction from that. Hate that. Not a fun thing anyway. So I may as well stop.
Yeah, that's the same thing with anything in life. If you do something for a week and it doesn't work out, you pretty much should drop it because it's obviously not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're not good at something, just don't do it.
I exercised for a week. Nothing happened. So I'm obviously exercise is not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Maybe that's a thing that I learned that, you can apply that same logic that you apply to every other part of your life to socials as well. So look, it was awkward and it was embarrassing. It was the kind of thing where we would put something up and we never knew what it is that we were doing. It was very hit and miss. Sometimes it was casual. Sometimes it was super businessy. And then with regards to branding, it was just all over the place. It was throwing spaghetti at the wall.
And an agency that does branding.
Look.
This is where the embarrassing part comes in, isn't it? I just really want to make sure we really dig deep on this particular element. I think it's really important for the audience to understand just how humiliated you felt looking at your own stuff.
And this is it's the kind of thing where, for starters, we very rarely got anyone who was I saw your socials. And we would have very little interaction on there. It was I didn't know who was on there and what was really happening. It was just, as I said, it was something that existed, but that was it. And we kind of looked at it almost we don't do a lot of traditional advertising. So we don't do billboards or newspapers or anything like that. But I pretended it was very much so the same way that I was well, billboards go out there and you never know what happens when who sees them. Maybe that's the same with social media.
Okay, so that's a really interesting point though. So for you at the start, it was sort of you just thought, if you do something every now and then, presumably people are seeing it or whatever, but it's a really hard thing to measure. So if we take where that approach was, so ad hoc, kind of our branding, our tone of voice, our topics, etc., a bit all over the place, very inconsistent, and also not really understanding what kind of return there was, even if there was a return, to today, where are you now with your socials?
Look, we're still working on consistency. And
everything's always a work in progress, man. Nothing is ever done.
No, that's it. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes progress is the way I say, and that's exactly what we're working on for it. So
that's really cool. Practice makes progress. Nice.
I wish I could say that I came up with it. I absolutely didn't. My running coach did, but look.
That made me take a little bit of the shine off it, but that's all right. We'll forgive.
Look, it works. But it's the kind of thing where before a post took literally a week. Like, it was the kind of thing where if I wanted to post something, I would have to ideate it. And then I would go, there's something I need to do. And then I would think about it all week, and I would kind of work on it on and off, and then write it.
That's so much space for you, man.
Yeah, and it's like one of the reasons why it was something that we dreaded and we disliked so much, because it was the kind of thing where like, oh, this is not fun. It's not quick. It's not easy. And it always kind of felt like I was lurching around in the dark. Like, it was very much so just is it important? Who knows? And then so you would get to the end of that week and like, well, I still have that thing to do. Let's just rush and put something together. Whereas now before it was insurmountable. Now it's the kind of thing where I'm like, I need to post something. We're going to do that today. And I would say I've gotten a post down to about 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And that could be much quicker with more planning. And that's one of the things I want to work on next year. But 30 minutes compared to an entire week is wild as far as like time sink into it. It's fantastic. So
you've managed to, and we'll talk more about how you've done that, but at the moment, so you managed to bring down the amount of time it takes for you to craft and put together quality content. What other changes have happened from then till now?
Oh my God. The grid, for starters, not to toot my own horn, but she's sexy now.
Dude, away.
It is, as I said before, it was awkward. It was embarrassing. I would log on and be like, oh God, please nobody ever look at this. It was so weird and awkward, and I hated it. And that was literally just the graphics. That was without reading the actual content in those posts, which always varied somewhere from like a paragraph to way too much information. And it never sounded like me or the business. It sounded like some weird robot or somebody who was maybe they had
awkward
seen
and
humans.
not knowing what they were doing and like not really feeling it.
Oh, weird. Almost like it reflected in my post. Who knew? So the grid, so much sexier. More importantly, for starters, we actually get interactions from people who knew it's not just a billboard that just goes up there. People actually press. And
it's so interesting. We all talk about how people spend too much time on social media. And then when it comes to our businesses, people are like, oh, social media is not worth it. And it's like, you got to marry the two of them up, man. Like, seriously, people are on there a lot. Fucking take the opportunity.
Exactly. And I always felt bad because it was one of those things that I pushed on every client. I said, hey, it's something that you should investigate in. And I was straight up with everyone who came in. I was like, hey, don't look at mine. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
But you should go and do socials. And then I'd be like, yeah, that's not a thing I'm doing. like literally end the meeting and stop. Whereas now it's the kind of thing where those people who I have told to go and do socials, like I can see them doing it. I'm doing it, and we're interacting with each. We're actually creating community. Again, it's wow. Almost like there are positives to this. So yes. So that's one of the other things that we're seeing as like a change between then and now. And then lastly, it is that, it actually works. It works. The whole idea that I tell people for social media is that it's like a website. It's just a tool in your tool belt. It's one of those many things that you may not necessarily get leads directly from it, but at least you're going to be at the front of people's minds.
Awareness, it can lead to conversions, but it is so good for awareness as well. And the consideration phase too. It's people they can find out, like they can know you exist, but they can find out more about you until they're actually ready to do business with you. Because, I mean, we're the same. It's not like someone just wakes up and goes, you know what? I'm just going to get a website today. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, some people might, but normally it's a bit of a longer process to actually get to that decision-making purchase, like that decision-making point. And so by, doing your socials consistently, quality, all that kind of stuff, you're showing up as a professional. And it's like, oh, well, these are the people I should be working with because obviously they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Again, like it makes you look like the professional that you are. Like this is the thing. We knew we were professionals. And when people met us, they were like, oh, how have we not heard of you? How is it that, sorry, we've been in the same town for how many years? And this is the first time, like they love us. And then they go away loving us. But then over time, we don't have those touch points. So it's easy to forget who we are and what we do. Whereas with social media, we keep that connection open, and it's not a real forceful connection. It's not me constantly emailing people to be like, hey, do you want to do business? It's not me pushing a thing. It's just literally saying
marketing. Yeah,
exactly. This is stuff we do. This is stuff we're doing. This is who we are.
Yeah.
Easy.
And that's the thing. It's exactly what it is, James. It's like, this is who we are. This is examples of stuff we do. This is what we love to do. These are the people that we're working with. They're fucking awesome as well. And then other people are like, oh, they seem really cool. That's really good work. Oh, look at them giving a shout out to other people. That sounds like someone I want to do business with. Like, it's not fucking hard, really,
It really isn't. And that's one of the things that I've never been really great at is that whole reciprocal business. I don't love networking. You know that. It's not a thing so it means that when I'm in one-on-one meetings with people, if they say, hey, I need a photographer, I can go, oh, I know some photographers. Here's a selection or anything like that. But it's not the kind of thing where I can be out and about networking and being like, oh, you guys should all use these people. Whereas social media is like the perfect example where I can go, hey, we did this job with these people. This is what, if I work with a person or a company, it's generally because I like the person, like the company, or believe in what it is that they're doing or how they do it. So it's not the kind of thing where we just work willy-nilly with everyone. So it means that every time we do a website, we can give a shout out and be like, hey, this is what they do. And by that point, like, it's the kind of thing where we can really go into detail because I'm invested in it. I've spent, months on their business, like making it so that they appear as awesome as I know they are. And I can go, hey, you guys, you should check them out.
You say, here is everything they do. Here's why they're amazing. And I've been working with them for X amount of time. So I know all of this to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it.
Okay. So we have our starting point. We have our amazing end point. We've got our before and after photo. Yeah. People always want to know, how did the transition happen? What is it? How did you get from where you were to where you are? And obviously, like you said, there's still more to do. We know there's always more to do, but you've made such great strides, especially in that, getting that response, getting those interactions, getting work and touching base with people, et cetera, through socials. That's primarily what so many business owners want it for. How have you done that for you as someone who obviously didn't like them beforehand?
It's a series of things that just really made sense once we had it all. So step one sounds really, really obvious, but it's having a brand guideline, which is the thing.
Remember how long it still took you to do that? That was like one of the first action steps. And how long did it? You were so quick on the uptake for so many things, but that one point took you. And then when you did it, you were like, oh, this is amazing.
Because this is the thing, like I had it in my head. I was like, I know who we are as a brand. I know what our brand looks like, but it was very much so like there's a lot in your head. So it means when you're trying to just get one tiny piece out of there, it means it's very easy for it to get jumbled and confused between that point and that point on the page. So by having
from your previous marketing being haphazard is that you didn't have that one, like just it's having a record of this is our look and feel. This is our tone. This is our values. All of that stuff recorded just means it doesn't even have to live up here. It's a reference. It's a cheat sheet. And it makes it so much easier to jump into that consistent quality level straight away.
Yeah, 100%. It was, and that's exactly it. It was about having assets. It was about making sure that, hey, this is what the brand looks like. But it was also figuring out that voice as well. And look, I did cheat a little bit because I had some posts ahead of time where I kind of started tentatively reaching out, what is that voice? And And that was when I did the brand guideline, I was like, oh, I already know what that voice is. And it was very much so that same voice that I had always wanted to use, but kind of been weird about in the past. Like I very much so wanted to use an authentic voice and a voice that was just like down to earth and didn't talk down to people from a professional point. It was very much so hey, we're both business people. We're both trying our best and doing what it is we can. And we could both maybe learn from each other. And that was the point of like honesty that I wanted to be.
That is so you. That is 100% who you are. Exactly. Like, yes, you're amazing at what you do, but at the same time, like, and I know I'm the same, where it's like, I think that's one of the benefits of what we are, like why we do well in our industries is because we're genuinely interested in what other people do and how they do it and stuff. And that's kind of, we tease out those points, and that's how we can create cool things for them, because we actually are interested in it ourselves as well. So that just seems really interesting. Okay, so step one was the brand style guide, including tone of voice and putting together some assets. What do you mean by assets for those who aren't in our industry?
Okay, so it's, for starters, at the very basics, you've got your logo. Then you've got what I'm saying now, I'm calling it a responsive logo. So we had that version of the logo in many different forms, so that way I wasn't, because before that, if I was like, all right, I have a dark post, I was like, how's the logo going to look against that? And I had to kind of change it every time, whereas I could go, all right, this is exactly what it looks like against all of these different things. So that was step one. Step two was...
Yeah, cuts out duplication of effort. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really does. Step two, again, it was all about making things really easy for us, because I knew that if it was difficult, I wouldn't do it. So I got a template. It has something like 30, it's an Illustrator file. It has 30 different little artboards, each of them with a post on there. And so that way I could go, if I always use this, it's got 30. For starters, that's bigger than the grid anyway. So if you were recycling it, then people aren't really going to see it too much. But also it was a great jumping off point for us. So it was like, okay, good. This is my start point for every single one of my posts. I'm not starting with, when you open up a file and it's just blank, there's nothing more terrifying, because you're like, the world's my oyster. I guess I can create anything.
And that's it, is putting all these little things in place as well cuts down your time so much. Like this might cut down 5 minutes, that cuts down 5 minutes or whatever, but you add it all up. And like you said, it just saves so much time overall, but it's all just little incremental steps to make along the way.
Yep. One of the biggest things that directly I took entirely from you, so I'm 100% able to give you credit for this one, was that we just had topics. We knew what it means, that way we always knew what it is that we were going to talk about. So for us, we have testimonials as one of them. We have work that we've done, and then we have services that we provide. Those are our three main things that we do. And I have other ideas for things that I can do, but it means that as a fallback, if I ever am like, I need to do a post, then I can always do one of those three things.
So just and all of them align with your overall business plan, your overall marketing strategy. They're not just random things. They are, and it's not like it's rocket science either. Like it's fairly straightforward, but they're three topics that actually do make a difference for your business marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, once you know that, oh, these are the three topics, these are my three core topics, it means that everything else you do with that in mind. So it means that when I'm doing a website, at the end of it, I'm like, okay, great. I've just got to make sure I take a screenshot of this so that way I can put it on socials. And I won't be posting it straight away, but it's the kind of thing where I go, great, I have that in the bank.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. I love that.
Again, you love that because you came up with it. So it's your advice. It's one of the other ones is testimonials. I hate asking for them. It's cringe, and it's the same as I hate telling people how good I am at anything. It's just literally, which is why I hated like the whole idea of Instagram, was like, it felt like I had to go on there and be like, hey guys, I'm good, buy my stuff.
Yeah, look at me. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas we changed it entirely. So it was very much so, even testimonials, instead of having to ask them, that way I could reach out to people at the end of the project and just literally tell them the truth. Hey, I really enjoyed working with you. I enjoyed this, this, and this. And that way I'd love to work with you on this, and this, because all of our projects and all of our clients are not, here's a website, bye. It's very much so, here's a relationship we're building. This is step one, and I have plans for it. And this is me setting that up both as a business lead, but also people can then, it gives them an opening to say, hey, we enjoyed working with you, this, and this. And I would say easily 9 times out of 10, people are so happy to just provide that feedback. And then once you have that, you're like, great, tick in the content bank again.
Oh, cool.
Done.
We have our branding and style guide. We had our templates for our graphics ready to go. We have our content themes, and then we have our always collecting content approach. So it's not something that just gets left to once a month or whatever. It's we're always collecting content for our socials, which can also be used for our website and case studies and tenders and all the other fucking shit we put together. Excellent. Anything else that's helped you get from where you were to where you are today?
Yeah, I think it ties back to that brand guideline, because as part of that, we had a voice and like we worked on who it is that we were. And so once we had that, it meant that we could go back to that every time when we were talking. Originally, I was like, I'm going to get ChatGPT to write up my social posts. And it was cool and it was fine. But I found that ChatGPT, like I was constantly being like, hey, could you make this more fun? Make this more interesting? Make this more honest? I was like, I was doing a lot of work telling it. And I was like, how about I just write the thing? Because
in the way
by the time
I want.
Yes, exactly. By the time you've written up a draft and said, hey, look at this, but also make it good, make it fun, and then you re-edit it 15 times, you're like, I could have just written it in my own voice. And that's what we really, really found helped us so much more, is just that pure kind of authenticity, is just being like, hey guys, this is a thing we did, or this is what we do. And like, people seem to actually like that. Like, it's because they're not having to go through layers of BS. They're not having to try and go, what's the angle here? Like, one day I will get to
genuinely
it.
Going, this was a cool thing we did for this cool person. You might be interested in it.
Literally, that's it. Exactly. I would say probably 70% of the time right now, I forget a call to action in there. I don't even have that. And again, I'm working on it. But it's very much so, that's not what we're doing it for. We're not.
Yeah, you don't need a CTA for everything. Like, yes, marketing works on CTAs, but not everything is a CTA post. So there are things when we're just going to be sharing and getting engagement and eyeballs and stuff like that. Can I just say to you before I forget, on that ChatGPT point, something that you might want to try that I've been playing around with and that I fucking love right now is copying and pasting your post. That, like, so you write your genuine awesome post in, and then you say, hey, ChatGPT, give me 30 trending hashtags for Queensland on this post. And then, because then I don't have like, they're all ones, again, that you could just come up with yourself, but I don't have to worry that I've put a typo in there, or there might be, you know, I just don't have to spend the time typing like multiple versions of one hashtag out, sort of thing. So I've really been enjoying that. If you haven't tried it yet, 100% have a go.
You're absolutely, I forgot that I cheated. I did literally exactly that. It was day one. I was like, give me some hashtags that I know that that I know that I need. And he gave me some which were good, but also like I'd already been on Instagram. I already know what it is that I need. So I was like, I'll make sure I use those as well. So yeah. And that making sure that you have that list so that you can always go back to it means that you're not spending time thinking about it literally every time for your hashtags.
Yeah, a cheat sheet list. Just one of the many little time-saving things that when you set it up, and it's not about setting up something perfectly either. Like, you don't have to have every possible hashtag that's useful to you imaginable at the start. Just set up your Google Doc, put your fucking starting ones from a post, and then as you think of ones or see ones or follow ones or whatever, pop them on there so that when you go to do your content, it's all just there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we do. I have different hashtags for, again, I only have 3 main themes.
Yeah, so you do have them in the different. Oh, God, I love you so much. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Which means that, like, and a lot of them are the same, but it means that I can go, all right, well, this one's for websites. I'll make sure that I'm targeting websites. This one's for a design. Make sure that I'm targeting design. It's great. It's easy. Yeah, absolutely.
Such a no-brainer. Such a no-brainer.
Again, all your advice. So you're very much like patting yourself on the back here.
Maybe just a touch. This is, yeah, maybe just a little. All right.
Yes.
Okay, away from me, back to you. What else have you been doing?
Okay. One of the other ones that is, yeah, you know how I'm like, when
I can
get
always
to that
tell
point
when
where
you're
I'm
just like, yeah. Like, I don't want to say this, but I know I should say this.
Okay, the biggest thing is not to watch engagement, as far as don't be like, oh, I didn't get as many likes, so I should do it. So that's step one. But step two is consistency. And that's one of those things which is just like, I do it in every part of my other, like, it's not like I can just not turn up to work some days. It's not like I can not work out some days. It's very much like I do the same thing.
You are a disciplined person. I mean, you're getting to work when I'm like still in bed in the morning. Like you're into it.
Yeah, this is exactly it. So I was like, I don't know why I thought that I could just hit and miss with it. So it's very much so, and consistency is something that I'm working on, and I know it's something that I could do better. But it really is key to this. And this is the thing, like I've done social media. I find social media for the business really, really difficult or at least I did, because I was like, I didn't really know what I was doing. And I found that consistency was really difficult because of that. Whereas I had personal projects where consistency, I did it every day. And because it was personal projects that I didn't care about. I didn't care if anything flopped. I didn't care if it really worked. It was what it was. And I saw so much traction because of that, just because you were constantly there. People were seeing your stuff because you were in their faces. And that's exactly the same with this. So it's finding a balance. I make sure that like I would never do personally. I wouldn't do more than once a day. But like,
it depends
if I could
on the
get
business,
there.
depends on the audience. There's so many factors when it comes to stuff like that. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the other things because social media, I'm very much so talking from an Instagram perspective, because that's what I've been working on this year. That was my main focus. And I think that was one of the things that you really, really helped me with, was you were like, hey, well, right now, social media is such a broad term. Like, what does that mean? And you were like, okay, how about we break that down into where do you see the most amount of interaction and who are the people that you want to work with? I was like, oh, well, I follow a lot of businesses already on Instagram. Those are the people that I like and want to work with. And you're like, great, let's interact with those people. Let's focus on those people. So I found that really, really helpful to just go, I'm forgetting about Facebook entirely. And before, we had always just gone, well, I'm just doing a post, let's post it everywhere and that's done, without really thinking about who the audience was, who we were talking to, what we were trying to achieve. Whereas now I can go, because I'm focused specifically on Instagram, I can go, okay, these are the people that I'm talking to. This is how we talk to those people. That really, really, really helped for us. And that doesn't mean that we left everything else aside. This year I've been fantastic working over on LinkedIn. And it's not because I already knew that I was at my capacity for social media, like full stop. I wasn't going to be able to post more than that. LinkedIn, I found, I can create a community. I can create connections and talk to people in a one-on-one fashion, which, that's exactly what I'm good at. Like, that's the thing I enjoy doing. I love talking to people one-on-one. So like making those connections and then being like, and literally as simple as when people they send a quote request, I go, hey, who's that person? Because if we're going to work together, we should probably know each other a little bit. Like, that makes sense. Like, websites are it's not a transactional thing. It's very much so not but even in over-the-counter kind of businesses.
It's such a collaboration.
Yeah, but like, you want customers coming back. You want to be building that kind of relationship in most industries. So it makes sense to be kind of creating that long-term relationship. So that really
100% step in and help you with that, whether it is that broadcast sort of style that you're doing on Insta, or whether it is like in the DMs or, in LinkedIn messages and stuff. It can definitely help with those touch points. And like you said, it's one of those things where, like, sending out emails and stuff to people and asking for work and whatever, like, that's just, it's not your style. It's always going to come, like, it's always going to be awkward and whatever. Whereas now that you've really honed in on your voice and your style and your look, getting that out on socials is going to be so much easier, so much more authentic. And funnily enough, people will respond to that.
Yeah, it's weird. Like that is, it's so true, because this is the kind of thing. I don't want to be all woo-woo about it, but it's very much so law of attraction kind of stuff. So it's like you put out, this is who I am, and this is the stuff that I like. And that attracts the people who are also uphold those values. And it makes it much easier and much more fun working with people. Like you're no longer sifting through who is and isn't a good fit. Generally, people are coming to us and saying, hey, I saw these things. And that's the thing, like, it's so much like I was saying before, it's not a lead generator immediately, but I've absolutely had people like, hey, I saw your Instagram. Like, I loved exactly everything that you're about. It led us to your website. We went through all of that and you're like, oh, cool, great. This actually works. This is fantastic. Like,
funny that. Yes, well, as a point, updating your website with what you do and who you work with and all that kind of stuff. So important as well, isn't it, James? Mm-hmm.
It really is. And that's a thing that we do. No, it really is a thing we do now. This is the thing. Like, it's the kind of stuff that we tell people all the time. You're just like, make sure you're updating your website with what you do. And this is one of the ones that I find really hard about posting, because I always assume that, I don't know, everyone knows what I do. It's on my window. It's on my card. It's on my website. But it's the kind of thing that it isn't until people are scrolling through. Like, I have worked with people for over a decade, and some of them have seen those posts that say, hey, just so you know, we do these things. This is the stuff we've done. And they're like, I had no idea. And you're like, what do you mean? What did you think we did? And they're like, we thought you did exactly what you do for us, and that was it. And you're like, oh no, I couldn't make a living off that. I do this much. This is why. Like, so yeah, it's been fantastic for that. It really has.
Okay, so I've got two final questions for you. Number one, do you still hate socials with a fiery passion?
Okay. If you had asked me at the beginning, I would have said I hate socials with a fiery passion of 1,000 suns.
Right.
So
how many suns are we down to?
Look, now it's a mild inconvenience at worst. Realistically, it's the kind of thing where I enjoy, like, that's a thing I couldn't have imagined. Like, before, opening Instagram and going to that business page was not a thing I did, full stop. And then if I ever accidentally did, then I was like, this sucks and I hate it. Whereas now I'm like, oh, I actually enjoy seeing my clients and their stuff. It's the kind of thing where I can go to a place and see the community of people that I work with in a kind of like nonchalant fashion, without me having to show up on their doorsteps, call them, text them. It's us slowly interacting with each other. So it's as I said, minor inconvenience at best. I'm not going to go so far as saying I like it. I won't go there.
And again, that's part of being authentic and honest here, man. Like, you really did, like I said, 1,000 suns, whereas now to the point of it just being like, it's inconvenient, but, it does get us results. And when I do it, I see that sort of thing. I think that's a massive fucking difference. So I think that's pretty good. All right, wrap up tip. Any final tip that you would like to leave our audience with?
Yes. Okay. I have it written down because, and look, it's reaffirming exactly what I've already said. The two tips that are really most important more than anything else is authenticity, because and it was very much so, it was us originally, is we put up this robotic kind of content, and then when people, and it didn't really reflect with anyone. It didn't reflect on us.
It's like, oh, I would never have had a sense of this. And it's sort of like, funnily enough, if you actually act like yourself on socials, then people can get a sense of who you are, and they can pre-select in or out. They can choose, yes, this is someone I want to work with, or no, that person's not really my vibe. So anyone who's coming through to you is like already into you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It means you're matching values for values. That's exactly it. So that's my key one. And then secondly, it's consistency. And look, it might always be an uphill battle. And that is fine. But what I've learned is that hill gets slightly smaller. So it becomes slightly easier. Maybe we become slightly better at doing it. Who knows? But it's making sure that you show up and you do the work, which is what you do for your job. Like, it's like,
yeah,
some days my job is not fun and enjoyable, and some days it's really difficult. But I don't just say, may as well not do it. Like, this is part of the job. So just show up and do it every time, even when you don't want to, even when it's hard. And the results
Feeling
will come
personally
through.
attacked right now, James. Yes, even when it's hard, even when you're tired, even when all the other shit is happening in your life, just showing up and being consistent. Yes, it's very, very true for so many things, but definitely for social media as well.
Yeah. Doing a thing badly is better than not doing the thing at all, because if you do it badly enough, you'll realize how badly you're doing it and you'll get better at it. And eventually,
the only way to get better at things is to do it too. Like, you don't
literally,
get good at things by not doing it.
Exactly. Yes, exactly that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us again. Like I said, we got such good feedback from our first episode with you, and I reckon that this one is going to do just as well. I will put a link to that other one in the show notes too, because I can't fucking remember anything about it and I didn't write it down in my notes. But thank you very much, James from Cloud3. Oh, speaking of, what's your Instagram handle, just so people can go and check out your mad consistency that's going to happen immediately now that you've done this podcast?
Not me posting this morning specifically, so I could be like, yeah, we're so consistent. We definitely did this today. Yeah. People don't know when we record these. It's Cloud3AU. So, and the 3 is spelled out THRAA. So.
Perfect. Make sure you get onto it. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and cheers. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Marketing Margaritas. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, ask if you can please share, subscribe, and leave a review to help us reach even more people who have a passion for marketing and the occasional margarita.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Marketing and Margaritas. Find more free marketing tips, tricks, and laughs at rebelnation.com.au.